they've had a pretty eventful summer too. They often sit right over there. So if you guys don't know them, because we all have assigned seats here, it seems. If anybody moves, it throws off the whole balance of the universe. But these guys were able this summer to go on a trip to Hungary and support a conference there of a bunch of missionaries from around the world, many of whom we supported. So I just asked them to come on up today and just share a little bit about what they were doing. And since some of you guys don't know them, the first thing, come on over here. First thing I want them to do is just tell us a little bit about themselves.
So this is my husband Binoy. I'm Christine. We have a daughter Esther who's about 2.5 years old, and I have my brother David with us also. And we've been coming to Trinity for the last 4 years, and we had the privilege of going on a mission trip to Hungary to serve missionaries with the World Outreach team and to serve with their children, the middle school team.
So this isn't something that you normally do. That's kind of a big deal, a big step of faith. I mean, you've got a little girl, lots of reasons to not do this, but why did you end up doing this? I mean, tell us a little bit about that whole process, how that worked for you guys.
So in January of this year, Nan McCallan, who's involved with missions over here, she approached us and she said, would you guys be willing to do this mission trip? And she told us all about it and said, you're going to be serving with middle school kids. So she gave us a week to think about it. We went back and considered it and prayed about it. And at the end of it, I was like, this is not for us. I don't think we have anything in this that we can do. And I was talking to Nan, and she said, well, think about why not you. So I went back that day and came up with a list of all the things why we would not be the people to do this. But as I was praying over that list, God just showed me that each of those things on the list were human weaknesses. And the word that came to me was, my strength is made perfect in your weakness. And we said, okay, if we can do this in faith. So we stepped out in faith, and that's how we ended up going.
That's cool. So what were some of the highlights of your trip? What did you see God doing in yourself and in the work there?
I think one of the big highlights for me was just being able to network with a lot of people, and you already mentioned it, Mark, but we got to meet with a lot of people that Trinity supports too. So there were missionaries who were supported by Trinity that we got to meet. In addition, we got to minister to their kids, a lot of them growing up in, literally corners of the world, and the missionaries are on the frontiers of, on the front lines. So it was fascinating to hear where they're working and the stuff that they're doing. And I'll let Christine share something.
I grew up as a missionary kid in India, and I grew up in a different culture than my parents' culture. And so I was able to relate to these kids who have grew up in different cultures that may not have kids of their age who can then relate to about their faith. And so it gave me an opportunity to relate to them meaningfully about their faith and how they grew up in different cultures.
It is cool to see how different parts of your background get used in ministry later to help serve other people and stuff you would never expect necessarily. So we talk about I-4 here sometimes. It's kind of our understanding of what God's called us to, and one I in that is impacting the world. And the idea is to share Christ in our workplaces, in our families, and even across the world. And so it's cool to see you guys living that out. So I wanted to get you guys up here and talking about some of the things you've done. But if you were thinking about how you would encourage each of us to consider maybe a step like this, maybe a short-term mission trip or something, I mean, what would you have to say? I mean, encourage us a little bit along those lines.
So I think the first thing is, when we were considering this trip, we were talking to some of our friends about it. They said, so you're going to Europe on a mission trip? And, it's like, it sounds more like a vacation. But I think that's the really cool part about missions is that, missions are not about where you go, it's about who you serve. And it doesn't have to be Europe, it could be anywhere in the world. It could be Detroit. And I know Trinity had a short-term mission trip to Detroit some time back. So I think that was really cool for me is that, you can serve God doing a mission trip anywhere. And the second thing is, like I already shared, God's able to use us in our weakness. So we don't have to be perfect. So, you know, for someone who's considering missions and thinking that they may not be good or good enough for it, I think God can fill the gap. So,
cool. Let's give these guys a hand. That's awesome.